We're live.
We're on.
So I'll just give a few minutes for the boys to log in and have a look. Hope you get a cold beverage ready.
Let's go. Still excited. Liam's on. Let's go. Yeah, them yellows, mate. You should become famous over that video.
Bloody oath.
Quite
cool
good, eh?
video.
Mm.
Bloody cool video. Had me a bit worried there for a second, but
I'm jealous I wasn't there, to be honest.
want to get started?
I reckon we'll give it another minute. I'll kick off, eh? And
A couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Let people log on.
should have a refill, actually. G'day, mate.
Now this is our first time, so bear with us because don't know how to view the comments and answer at the same time. But
We've
see
actually
how
got
it goes.
two systems going, so we can try and read the comments as they come through. But
Yeah, trying to.
we'll see how we go.
Yeah,
I can obviously see that one, so that's handy. Good start.
you know. All right,
Oh no,
let's kick it up.
let's do it.
All right, as we said in the last week or so, do a quick video Q&A of what stuff we're going to chuck this year, how we're going to change them slightly, rig them differently, what we've chucked in the last couple of years, do's and don'ts of rigging, especially from me. It's a lot of don'ts that I've done in the last couple of years. So I reckon we'll start off with Az has literally got like 4 tackle boxes next to him.
Stupid.
Full.
That's all
Shocker
right.
box.
We can run through these.
Yeah, go on. So start us off, Az. What are you going to start chucking this year?
Mate, as I've said before, the new slick backs. I've been waiting for these for a while.
Yeah.
I love the old ones, and it's kind of good to see them come back. So
Yeah.
I do like 100 mil. This is 100 mil. It's just I've got fat ends, so it looks small. But
So as they're called, Origin Series from Xeric. So these came out, 10 plus years ago?
yeah, I reckon it's about 10, I think.
And they've just brought them back brand new. So as you can see, there's a few of my favourite colours in the boxes. Straight off the bat, that's what I'll be throwing this year. But not to say they're not going to be without modifications. So I'm going to keep a few stock standard without anything. But as I've said before on the podcast, we do like to mess around with lures, change the way they work to benefit certain situations.
Yep.
So one of the biggest things we use on divers, which weird enough, adhesive tungsten weights. And you may be thinking, what the is an adhesive tungsten weight is going to do for a diving lure? Well, it creates, if you stick it on the front of the lure, you can have something that goes head down from the start of the cast. So what we try to do is put a tungsten weight either on the back of the bib, so when it's diving, so when it's diving, if it's on the back of the bib, it's not going to hit anything as it goes through sticks, or crack it on the bottom of the body. That way, every time it's nose down, the weights are on the back. They're not going to get hit with stuff. They're not going to get knocked off. And believe me, these things are almost impossible to get off once they've set through.
Yeah, they sound like glue. So I throw hard bodies a lot, and as everyone knows, mate, hard bodies are my thing. Absolutely love them to death. Now, the thing I look for in a hard body is a crash dive. So a crash dive is what I mean. Yes, it may be a deep dive. You can get an 8-metre diver that is not a crash diver. So what I mean by crash dive is I want it to get down as quick as it can and get down into the structure I'm fishing in the river. So for instance, this guy here, it dives to 5 metres, but it might be a gradual slow on the way down. So that sticky weight, all that does, as it's sitting on top of the water and you're ready to wind, it just lowers it enough
Just a touch.
to get it to bite in and actually dive down quicker and sharper. And that's a big thing that I've found with cod is the quicker you get into that strike zone, the more success you have. So
especially river fishing, because you're casting snags and those fish might be sitting hard up against the bank right under the snag, and unless you crash dive right over them, they're still going to sense it in the water, but it just gives you that little bit of an edge that they're going to go, oh, it's close enough, crack, and take that lure straight off the bat. So I use these atomic 4-gram weights, either on the back of the bib or on like the front part of the body. Az does a little bit different.
I'm different. I like the top, so I put my sticky weights on the top. Although very buoyant lures, so the Colossal Ruby is a very buoyant lure. So I do put a bit more weight through them. So I've obviously still got the little bit to help me crash dive down, but I also do put them on the bottom as well, just to get it to not rise up as quick. Once I hit that structure, if I do stop, it's just slows it down enough to keep it there in the strike zone. So,
and these Colossal Rubies, they are a very buoyant lure. Excellent for getting out of the snags really quick.
Yep.
But for the way I retrieve and the way I cast, I don't like how quickly they rise. So what I've done is I added 2 of the 4-gram sticky weights, just so when you do crash, or if you're going to do a retrieve on your cast out, crank it down, you'll let it float up like a dying fish, crank it down again, let it sit and float back up. It's just going to slow that float back up. Keep it in the strike zone longer.
But yeah, we're going to ramble on and we're going to go through everything that we can possibly think of to... If you don't have it, it might help you out or whatnot. But if you've got a question, throw it in there and hope to God
we see it.
We see it. And we'll try and answer it because we all want to get out of here. Like, Jesus Christ, a couple of hours we should be on the water. But
that's right. It's not long now until we can officially start tackling the big green girls. So
get jittery. Let's go.
Yeah. So, recap, divers, love them. Keep them out of the box, add sticky weights, see how you go, change them around, see what you think of the different reaction they have, different floats, different crash dives, all that sort of stuff.
Speaking of which, the old Colossal Ruby, I actually got the biggest fish a hook last year on one of these. So, keep an eye out. These are really cool lures.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt to modify them.
Yeah. Made for black bass. These things are as tough as nails. You cannot break those O-rings or hooks. They're undefeatable. They're great.
And I like bright stuff. As you'll see a lot of my lures.
Bright.
I love bright stuff.
Bright. This is all for the river, so that's what we like throwing for the river pretty much. Right, yeah. What's next? What else are you throwing this year in the river, Az?
Well, let's go straight to surface because it's exciting.
One of my favourite bite of all time, surface. So this year, and we've mentioned them before.
Also, the rain affected cold opening start. Yeah, we did get a bit of rain. But in all honesty, mate, the river's actually looking really good. I had a look this morning, so I'm more excited than ever.
Yeah.
It's clear, it's low. They actually stopped the releases probably 3 days ago, so we've got a river under 1,000 megs, which is tops for cod fishing. So
I think they're dropping, this is Macquarie River that we're fishing, so I think they're dropping 200 megs a day out of the dam at the moment. Bright, not the So Aaron's just written in and he said, bright, not like you two fellas, and he's damn right.
What's your favourite cod lure that's thrown in the river?
So, favourite in the river, love a hard body, diving hard body, but also a mumbler. My favourite colour is a pink and white, like a galah coloured mumbler. I usually chuck about a 1 ounce if there's a bit of flow. Probably go step back from that if it's a bit more slack water. let that tail out of the soft plastic and the mumbler flow a little bit more. Also, you know, it's going to be dependent on river depth.
You
Shallow
honestly
rivers,
can't beat surface in the river. Like, it is just next level.
Yeah.
If you get a good bite on surface in the river, you'll be flat out tying anything else on.
Yeah.
But
which brings us to these new fellas. Raid, Decker Dodge. So these guys, if anyone's fished them before, they're called a venom crawler. These are so similar to an Avena crawler. We're very excited about them.
so that's an Avena crawler,
Yep.
and that's your Decker Dodge. So your Avena crawler is 115 mil. These guys here, they're 130.
Yeah.
Very, like, still light enough. They're only 2 ounces to cast, so really easy to throw around in the river.
Yep.
As well as a big enough profile to actually target dam fish as well.
So if you can see, these come with super heavy duty, like you're not bending those wings ever. Super heavy duty wings. And straight out of the box, they come with pretty cool disco shoes too.
Something else.
So what?
Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
And then this is...
Yeah.
So
straight out of the box, we modify these. I'm not a huge fan of the feathers. Like some people think that it allows the cod more drag resistance to pull the lure in. With surface, they're crash tackling anyway. I don't really know if they're going to slurp them that bad. But this is what we've done to one of our Decker Dodgers.
we just chucked the mustard jaw locks on them. So obviously always on the front, I do go oversized on the front. I always do with my surface, as long as it doesn't affect the action. So that's a 2.0 mustard jaw lock. And then on the back, I go back to a 1.0, just so it doesn't lose action in the back end of it as it's coming through. So too much weight at the back just destroys the surface line.
Yeah. So that's the hooks, split rings. I'm going to run a size 5 Gamakatsu, rated to 44 kilos. I will probably run this slightly different to Aaron. So Aaron's run single split front and back. I'm going to run a double split off the rear just to drop that back hook just a touch more. These sit really flat in the water, so they're not going to sit like that or head first. They sit almost dead flat. And from what I haven't chucked it yet, but from what I hear with the retrieve, they're very similar to what they call the zombaits. Like no matter how slow that retrieve is, it's still going to wobble side to side slightly.
Yeah.
Which is exciting because the slower you can wind and keep in that strike zone is a big plus for me.
So to give you an idea of size comparison, that's a 180 stalker. So you do have a big profile in them. And you honestly, I reckon you can't go too big for cod. They're stupid what they eat.
Yep. Like you see some blokes now, they're creating lures up to 400 plus mil long, especially surface, where you can just underhand pitch quite readily and just do that slow roll, especially wake baits. I think I was watching some rat video today on a wake bait and it was like 460 long or something like that.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Here's one for Mick Aiden watching. He loves his 10-inch mag drafts, and the 10-inch mag draft is quite a lure, to be honest. Like, just grab one of these of Dane here. These guys are 9-inch, so that's a
BUR Capsis 9.
BUR Capsis 9-inch, and yeah.
So
Nick,
this is
the Skiers boys, Brado, they all love that big profile, especially
in white.
White.
I love them in white. So I got the red fin colour and white. I usually chuck these in most dam situations. Now, we were talking at the start of the video about do's and don'ts, and this fella is probably a don't. So I've run this setup for the last year or so, and I've probably rigged this up a couple of years ago when I didn't know any better. So it's got the front treb that falls out. It also sticks back under the body like that. But I've also added in a rear fall-away treb with mason wire. So the idea is that if they do get that back treb, they're going to fall out if they hook up.
Now, I'm not going to lie, it's going to fall out.
So I'll get real nice and close, and don't mock me too hard, but this is one of my first attempts on mason wire. And you can see...
Lawson loves 18-inch.
So with that it's probably not tight enough bind right there. I haven't bound it tight enough, so I really think if a good cod grabbed hold of that, I wouldn't be confident. Whereas on this one, you can definitely see the really nice tight binds close together. That's not going to break. And I'm using, for mason wire, a single strand 105 pound test. So that stuff is unreal. It's like stuff you use on sharks. It's not going to break. So this year, instead of doing the breakaway full, like this one, you stick it back up with the mason wire and sticks in, I'm actually going to run mason wire all the way down the spine of the soft plastic, come out the end, and I'm going to put a small but strong single right off the bat. Now, as we all know, cod, they mostly attack shit head first. So this front hook is going to be pretty much most of the time used. But just on the off chance you get short strike, tail strike, I'm going to add one small single hook off a mason wire to the end of this soft plastic. And a lot of people think, oh, you know, maybe it'll affect the action, it won't be as bendy, all that sort of stuff. If you have seen these bee wires in the water, they've got awesome action, especially on full. And that's another great thing about soft plastics. If you're casting and you're letting them sink into structure or near the cod you're trying to cast at, that tail still goes. That tail moves all the way down, unlike some of the swim baits, jointed swim baits we use that have just dead in the water floating down.
So these are if you don't feel confident twisting your own mason wire up, you can actually buy like a hook harness and stuff like that. So you can buy these pre-packed. So yeah, there's a few different brands. I won't go all through them, but they're just pre-made and you can whack them on any plastic and you're good to go. So these are a couple of ones I've well and truly rigged up over probably 5 or 6 years ago. And just a few different ways I used to run them. There's obviously the top hook. I'm not a big fan of that at all.
Fouls up your tail.
Yeah. And then these guys, just your double trebs on the bottom.
Yep.
That was a really good design. I did like that. But in saying that, it depends on the depth of your water as well. You're not going to fish something like that in fucking 2 meters of water. You're going to end up with a snag every 5 seconds. So
that's right.
Just you gotta work to your conditions.
Yeah. And speaking of working to your conditions, so Flat Shad X, Xeric Flat Shad X, brilliant lure, action is unreal. I find that sometimes these lures can be a bit too weighty. So what I do, I usually buy 2 or 3 of these at a time. Now the weight is a little concealed in the soft plastic there. And if you can see right there, I've sheared that weight off to change the rate that it drops in the water. So normally that'll come out and bulge out like that, but I've sheared it off a little bit lighter, so I keep one stock standard out of the box, drops really quick, brilliant action, and then for a bit shallower water, I cut it off flush, as you can see there, cut it off flush, and then if you want to go a step further and you go even shallower, you can actually cut right there and follow the hook, and you take heaps more out of it, and it's going to be, you can use it in the river, it'll be that light. So just another way to look at a bait and be more versatile with it is reduce weight, change the way it sinks. It's going to benefit you so much in different depths of water.
Yeah, that's right. And another thing while we're on the weight subject to lures is obviously everyone's seen gantrels and whatnot. Most of your swim baits have a toe point at the front. Yes, it works to get them down well, but in a lot of cases that I fish them, I like to get them to sink natural. So in that case, as much as they're just a simple product, yes, your sticky weights help in this situation. So I can run sticky weights across the belly here, whatnot. I can run 2 or 3, and it just speeds that sink down just that little bit more, so I can fish a better depth. But the bait's not diving head first.
Yeah,
it's sinking flat. So the amount of fish I've actually caught on swim baits in the river on the drop is out of this world compared to the dam. The dams are a little bit different. I'd still rather sink them flat, but it's just nearly impossible to get them to the depth, especially through the summer months when you're getting caught at, say, for instance, 8, 10, 12 metres.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to get a lure down there quick enough.
So some people might be saying, why use sticky weights instead of a chin weight? Every one of these comes with a chin weight spot. Good question. So I don't know about you guys, but I've been chucking these around with chin weights for ages, and that hook is the perfect length to get tangled up in that chin weight.
Beyond the chin weight, yeah.
And that is enough for me to get the shits. And it's those little 1% things of, hey, why don't we use a sticky weight in this? It's going to get out of the way. Hook's not going to foul up on it. That if that one time you cast out and that hook fouls up on that chin weight and something big cracks it and you lose it and you bring it back and that's stuck in the chin weight, you won't forgive yourself. And
a lot of the time with the chin weights too is you get your leader to wrap around them and just destroys the action in it on the return. So your leader, obviously your toe point's just above it, and if you have a bum cast or whatnot, your leader can actually wrap around it and tie a bit of a knot, and it just doesn't look at all natural. So chin weights they're a good purpose thing for a certain situation.
Especially quick change. It's great for the quick change. You're like, change the depth quick, snap on a 1 ounce. We're going shallower quick, snap on a 1/2 ounce, whatever. It's great. But if you've got enough of the same swim bait floating around and you feel like you can just adjust it slightly with some sticky weights, I reckon it's a little bit of an advantage over a chin weight.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Now, if there's anyone that was keen-eyed about this lure, Aaron's actually coloured in some of these joints with red.
So that's a little theory of mine.
Aaron loves red dip. What's that? Dip and go dye.
Yeah, dip and dye, spiker pens. You know, the colours it red, I like it.
Yeah.
And to me, red is dead. So my theory of this was, obviously fish have red gills, and if they're getting chased by a predator from behind, as they're swimming and their gills are flaring out, you can always see a red line of a bait fish trying to flee. So as you're following this gantrel in, you can see those red lines as it flashes.
Yeah.
So that's always been a little thing in my head. I don't know if it helps, but it helps me in here. So
speaking of colour, we have talked about surface lure colour before and whether we believe it works or not. Some people believe that only this colour works in surface, whether it's dark or black. You go underwater and you look up and all you're going to see is silhouette. So most of the time it's going to look black. So people are like, why the hell would you chuck a white surface lure or a very bright coloured surface lure? Well, for me, and I've changed my mind on this probably in the last couple of weeks, and I bought a pure white one. Purely for the only reason is you can see white best in the dark. And when are you fishing surface? When it's in the dark. So I bought white purely so I can see it for longer in darker situations so I can cast more accurately versus chucking a dark blue and black stalker like I have been for many years.
That has taken me years to get him on board with that. I've always been a big fan of bright stuff for myself on surface because it becomes a silhouette.
Yeah. That's right. Everyone's probably gone down in the pool and looked up, and if there's something on the surface of the water, it just looks totally blacked out. There's not any colour penetrating down to you.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we've talked about our favourite river lures with divers. We've talked about our favourite dam lures. Soft plastics for me. I love soft plastics and swim baits and that sort of stuff. Now, Az is going to show us something that he's sort of rigged up over the last couple of years. Whether they're ever going to work on cod or not.
Look, it's a thing. It's a trial and error.
That's right. And we're all trying new things to try and be inventive and get those bites that are hard to get.
And
so
if you know me well enough, you know how much I love football jigs. Like, if I can catch a fish on a football jig, I'm fishing it.
Yeah.
So I caught bass, I caught yellows, I thought, why not try the green fellas? So I come up with a few football jigs for cod.
So as you can see, big old creature baits with a skirt on like a, what size head are they?
They're about 11.0.
11.0
Yeah.
jig.
So
So swim jigs for cod.
yeah, you can use them as a swim jig. I tried dragging them. Probably didn't work as well as I thought. I honestly haven't caught a fish on these yet, but it's not to say I'm not going to fish them this year. I probably will give it a red hot crack.
Yeah.
Just because I think it's pretty cool. Like if you can catch a cod on a homemade football jig that you're obsessed with, I reckon that's next level. So I'll give them a go. Like some of these skirts are absolutely giant. Like that would probably be, I reckon, maybe a 8-inch plastic. So they are a big profile. Like sitting it on my hand, she's well longer than my hand. So yeah, that's just something I've played with. I'm not guaranteeing it's going to work, but
get inventive. See what works. You might be the next person that comes up with a brand new thing that works 100% of the time. You don't know.
Like look at some of these things. Like if you was to see these, they're a couple of old school mud eyes. So thingies. Rick Peel back in the day made these things up, and to me they look fucking horrible, but they catch fish.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be inventive.
Yeah, that's right. That's all you can do. So I think that's pretty much us wrapped up. Is there anything else you want to add, mate?
Yeah, if anyone got any questions, what have we got here? Caught them on Berkeley Bubble Crawl on an 8 jig.
half-ounce jig.
That's pretty cool. Where are we going? I need to do this.
Hunt boys around where the crays are. Righto, down on the
true.
Murray.
So what are we talking, mate? Like we going Murray Bidgie area or like where the Murray crays are? That's pretty much, Murray Bidgie, all that water. That wouldn't, but great idea, mate, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Might have to go for a bit of a run down there with these bad
see
boys.
if they work out.
Blaring, thank you.
Blaring.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I've actually, Jesus.
Actually, talking about these, and I've seen one of Az's prototypes. He actually grabbed, what was that, putty stuff he put on it?
Yeah, that's the next step. So
Knead it.
Put knead it.
So you crack this knead it on the front of these jigs and made a flat, heavy base. So when they stopped hook up.
Yeah.
Fins up.
Yeah. So it had a flat base to sit on, so it sat up pretty prominent. But yeah, I've got this is one of Dane's favourites. They are a small profile, they're only 80mm, but I'll let him talk about them ones.
Chainsaws, Pro Fishman chainsaws, cast like an absolute bullet. So they got quite a few lead weights in it, movable. So obviously when you cast, all the lead weights come to the tail end when you flick it. Cast like an absolute bullet into the water, and these things crash dive like nothing else. Middle of the day, once pushed down in 5 metres and they'll face up in the current and it's deep hopping.
Well, there you go.
Perfect. That'd be perfect for those swim jigs.
100%.
Need to go down south a little bit, mate, and give it a go.
Yeah, God, yeah. I'm a bit excited for that.
Yeah. Bulletproof lure. I generally upgrade split rings and hooks. Don't go too overboard. These guys crash dive like crazy, so you don't need to add in any extra weight to them. Good as is. What are you pulling out now?
Dive into a few glide baits.
Yep, glide baits. What else you got there?
What don't I have?
So I did pretty well last year, actually, off the swingtail Mikeys. Quite a few times. Pulled the fish out late nights, casting over snags. Swingtail Mikeys work an absolute treat. Don't dive, but you can add some, you can still add sticky weights to them, get them down a little bit deeper.
You can actually add chin weights to them. So I've actually run nearly ½ ounce on those guys in the river just to get them down, so they act like a swim bait underwater.
Yeah.
And that's just popping the chin weight actually on the toe point. So it's not really designed for that. obviously, but it definitely works. I've caught fish doing it.
And you don't need to go heavy. They're not a super big lure, only a 115. So, half ounce, third ounce, it's going to get that down just that touch more anyway.
Sport all. But yeah, that is a big debate in the cod scene as well, is what's better, swim bait or glide bait? To be honest, lads, getting a phone call halfway. But in all honesty, I reckon if you're finding fish, not so much a tiny glide bait like this, but if you want to find fish, obviously without live scope makes it a hell of a lot easier. But I pretty much call a glide bait a search bait. So you're covering a lot more ground and a lot wider action. So pretty much call them a search bait. Where your swim baits, they're more straighty 180.
Yeah. What's this say? Have either of you set a new goal for this season?
I have, mate.
Yes.
I want to catch 2 over a metre in the river this year. That's my main goal, but I want one of them to be over metre 10. And I'm pretty confident, actually.
He's very confident. He's talked this up a long time now, which has made me worried about my goal. So my goal is I want to crack the 90 in the river and I want to get 1 over the metre in the dam. If I can get that, I'll be happy as a pig in mud.
Oh, yeah.
What's this? Aaron Lawson. Kez going out to fish with both of you, so the size matters.
I'm not going to lie, she's coming out Saturday with me for the cod opening. We'll probably put her at the back of the boat and put a few nicks in her braid just in case. But I can't have her out fishing me on the first one. I reckon she would be.
With your, what was that?
And then slide back in there.
With your glide bait, how do you use retrieving?
Glide bait, I fish them in 2 different. You can still slow wind them. I have done that, but I do prefer a slow rip with the rod tip and just pick the slack up with your reel.
Yeah,
that seems to really get them to. And if you can get a proper glide bait, you can nearly get them to turn 180 on themselves.
Yeah, they do like a real flick motion once you. With that tug, they'll flick one way, then you pause, wind up the slack, tug, they'll flick back the other way. Az probably prefers like a flick motion, whereas I prefer to do like a quick half turn.
Yeah, that works. Yep.
That way you always keep in contact with the lure and it keeps flipping side to side like you would if you were to tap the slack, so to speak.
Like actually, the first time I ever used a depth glide bait was the 180, so it's a bit bigger than this, a lot bigger than this.
Yeah.
I threw it in the river and I remember watching it dart under the log and dart out of the log.
Yeah.
And every time I lost vision of that, I got goosebumps up my spine thinking it was going to get eaten. And I was never getting me $150 lure back. That twitching of the rod, I definitely rate that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Twitching the rod, flick of the reel, especially on a high speed reel, it's really going to kick it. There we go. What else you in your bag?
That's another. That guy there, 4x4. It's another weight bait style swim bait that I throw through the river. These guys are pretty cool. They are hard to get. That American bait.
Yeah.
Mike Booker. They're another good one.
Yep. And they call them a 4x4. Why, Az?
Because you can't get them snagged. So what? Well, you can. So pretty much as they come to a log, they actually roll over and pivot over the snag as you pull them through. So that bib is designed to deflect anything it hits. It'll roll over.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because you can have a stick an inch underwater and roll that bait straight over the top of it.
You can't tell how big that bib is sticking down. Like there's not much purchase for those hooks underneath the bib.
And when you face it towards, it's actually really wide as well.
Yeah. What else are we chucking as?
What else am I chucking? Have we got a bone focus out yet?
No, we haven't.
We need a bone focus. Oh, that's the one that got me biggest cod ever out of the river.
Metre 17.
Bone focus 130. Not this exact lure. I got it in a largemouth colour.
Yep.
But probably best budget value for money swim bait / glide bait, whatever you want to call it. You retail $40-45, and these things, you've got so many toe points on them. So the front one it's a real wide, nice action. The further you go back, the tighter it gets, and then once you're right back up here, it starts to vibe.
It's almost like a shimmy. It's that tight.
Yeah. I caught me metre 17 on just the glide style, slow rolling, but in all honesty, I didn't get much of a wind out of it. It was
eating anything, you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. This is a custom colour. I got this one painted up a couple of weeks back for cod opening, so I'm pretty cool. Purple and white, can't beat it.
Yeah.
Main focus is another, probably one of the most universal swim baits as well, is a Gania.
Who painted it?
Grant Menasu. So, yeah, actually, it's a real good topic.
Focusing on the sleigh tomorrow, make sure you try Fury 132. And Fury 130.
Let's go.
I've been so bloody impressed with the Fury 130 and the way it works. So if anyone hasn't seen a Fury 130, they have the wings on the side, which you can take them out just with a grub screw on the side. So you can get rid of the wings. It's got a popper mouth, and it's got buzz bait back. So you can flick these little tails out and it becomes a buzz bait.
Yep.
The way I usually run it in the river or anywhere, I flick the buzzbait tails back in so they don't come out. I run it with the two wings and it just does a nice walking action. The cool thing about this though is that I chuck it into slack water, and with that pop mouth, you can actually tap your rod or hit the slack and it'll pop. And then you can just sit it there in slack water, wait 10, 15 seconds, however long you want, another pop, then you can steadily walk it out after that. And that just, in my head, it's something on the top of the water goes pop, cod look up and go, oh yeah. And it just sits there in the strike zone, and then they can choose whether they're going to hit it or not. Then after that, walk it straight out and see what happens.
And there's a few features of this too. Like, I've found that you can't run the fizzer with the walker.
No.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the way we run it. Fizzers in and just keep your walking paddles. But the best thing about this, and this is probably the most coolest feature on it, these guys here, yes, I've talked this lure up a lot, but wings. Wings in a river, you hit a log wrong, it's just going to go fucking south. So,
have you boys got any plans this season to go somewhere different for a cod trip? Hell yeah.
These guys.
Yeah, back on this.
Doesn't matter how much, they always go back. So,
yeah.
You can bend them, turn them inside out, twist them. They still walk.
Yeah.
You do that to a metal one for a couple of times, it's just game over. You may as well buy a new one.
That's right. There's that many times I've had to have multi-grips and pliers on the boat trying to bend aluminium wings back into place to try and get them fine-tuned to keep going, whereas the Fury, doesn't matter. Does not matter. So, have we got any trips this season to go somewhere different for a cod trip?
Yes, actually, we're both looking at fishing some new water next week.
Yes.
Really excited about that. I've never caught a fish out of that system, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's something we'll keep a secret for a little while. It's something we've been told about. We'll see how it fishes, and we'll get back to you. But
tell you how many donuts we get.
yeah. But for us this year, it's going to be hard on Macquarie. As Az said, he wants to get metre and metre 10 out of the river. I'm going to be hitting Barndonk hard, Windermere, Wyangler. I'd love to go down south and give Mull, Blowering.
I want to get Blowering again now.
Yeah, Blowering. Now that he's heard about the swim jigs and the football jigs may work with Blowering, that's definitely going to be on the cards as well. But yeah, try and get as many places as possible. And
I wouldn't mind fishing new water, but
the
Macquarie is just well above my element at the moment. It is fishing so good. We're getting consistent 80s out of it this year and last year.
Yeah.
So
I guess it's one of those things, like a lot for the tournament anglers out there, you don't leave fish to find fish. So if we're catching more than that's going to make us happy in the local rivers, it kind of doesn't want to make you go to new water.
No.
Something you've got to relearn, something you've got to work out, which is a fun game all in itself. But if you're catching fish and you're happy catching fish in the place you are, why would you leave? So it probably is, and there is so many places I'd love to go fish. I've never gone up north and done Copeton or Split Rock yet. I'd love to tick them off my bucket list.
Yeah, I've done them, but I haven't. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing a barra tour or a barra trip at least. I've fished my whole life and never caught a barra, so it's pretty sad. But
the only barra I ever caught is about that long out of my fish tank. So
yeah, barra are pretty cool.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, if you've got any other questions, type them in.
Yeah. And while we'll talk about that, probably
answers.
Talking about some of the tools we use to rig up. These are probably some of the best pliers that I've used, the old Mustads pliers. Brilliant. We got the
old Toyotis.
Yeah, Toy split ring pliers.
These things are pretty cool.
Yeah.
So if you see the top of them, it's actually like a spaceship kind of design on the end. So once you're actually in this center of the split ring, it just fans it out and it doesn't really jump off on you and get in your finger type of thing.
Yep.
They are expensive.
Yeah, Toy is expensive, but they're absolutely brilliant. You can get these in a normal plier, a split ring plier like that. You can also get it in a masonry wire plier, which kind of has a groove and then a little mouth like that helps you spin around a single masonry wire to get it on there a bit neater than I do by hand.
Also, he's got a barra trip planned November. So.
Would you do Lake Proserpine for barra?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, every day of the week.
I'm pretty lucky. The old father-in-law lives up there, so I'm actually going up there in June for his birthday, so there's a good chance I'll get to fish posse.
It's not a good chance at all. It's 100% locked.
Yeah, look, I've even spoken to the missus. We've probably even...
Matt Silk.
Look at this.
Spinnerbaits. Mate, I love him. This guy cannot stand them for whatever reason.
It's the closest thing I'll get to a spinnerbait.
He loves a mumbler.
Remember that one, Banksy?
I'm a bit of a convert on mumblers as well. I love chucking a mumbler, but I love spinnerbaits too. I usually love chucking twin spins, quad spins, that sort of stuff. Something that you can wind really slow, but it's still moving a lot of water. But it's not to say that some of the big spinnerbaits have their place, especially in dams, 1 ounce, 2 ounce spinnerbaits in dams. I've even heard of people running spinnerbaits up trees for cod in dams. Never done it myself, but Joe Jeffrey, 1 ounce or 5/8. So it probably depends on water depth and current.
5/8's a good. 5/8's a really good weight for the river.
5/8, perfect in normal conditions. If it's not too much flow and it's pretty good depth, go hardest.
And it does depend on the size of the plastic too, because that'll make a point. But that is actually only a 5/8 chatter, not spinnerbait. But that will sink slow enough in the river to be able to fish it and easily too. So.
But if you start getting high current, big depth, you want to go to that 1 ounce, because in that current 5 ounce, especially with a big profile like that plastic, it's just going to get caught in the current and taken that quick that you want to get that 1 ounce and try and get down in that spot where you try to cast. So that's probably my thoughts on 1 ounce versus 5/8.
Yeah. In all honesty, I'd probably fish heavier more than lighter when it comes to chatterbaits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
More so to the fact, once you get them going, they nearly stick in their depth. So even if you are only fishing 2 meters of water in the river and you've got your 1 ounce chatterbait, it might hit the bottom quick enough, but once you hop it up and you start winding, it actually tracks that depth a lot longer.
Yeah.
Which is what I prefer. So, and same thing, if you got a light one that's only just going to gradually keep coming up to the boat.
Yeah. So the thing about this spinnerbait that Adam's built as well, if some people can see that, is that he's built the back stinger so much more protruded than he would the front.
Yeah.
Why have you done that, Az?
I do that just to the point where once I've got a fish on, I feel more confident that there's not so much little hook just pinning them. So obviously cod have got the big row of teeth, and that just gives me the more confidence that it is behind those teeth and it's locked in, and I'm not going to drop it.
For sure.
As well as the other thing too is once you've got them pinned in that, they don't actually destroy your plastic.
Well, most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. So that's caught a couple of fish. That lure there finished off the season pretty well for
Still
us.
looking pretty fresh, which is good.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like it's been spun. So,
do you let your spinnerbaits and chatterbaits hit the bottom? I do not. He does. I don't. The way I look at it is like if you're chucking a bib lure, a diving crankbait, it's not very often it's going to hit the bottom. And if it does hit the bottom, you generally let it come back up and then keep retrieving, whatever.
Yeah. There's a lot of times I don't let it sink either.
Yeah. If you're feeling confident enough that it's not going to get stuck on something or snagged up.
Oh, great question too. Yeah, keep going.
Snagged up. Yeah, hit the bottom, hop them off, especially in dams and stuff. Yeah, going to be great. In the river, I don't like it just because of the chance of snagging up. But do you let the chatterbaits, swimbaits, chatterbaits and mumblers?
Yeah, I do. If I know the river well enough, and it's not like I'm throwing in a bunch of shit, I will let it hit the bottom. Yeah. And that hop up and slow wind, that's the way I like fishing it. But if I know it's thick timber, I'm throwing in, and as soon as it hits the water, I'm nearly cranking into it. So, yeah. Silky's had a good question there. Mono or braid for swim baits?
Yeah, okay.
Now that's a big topic. So,
and we fish differently on this.
We do.
I'm big for braid. I tie pretty large leaders. Whereas Az has just sort of started to convert over to the straight fluoro.
Yeah.
Or mono. I think fluoro is probably a little bit more suited.
Yeah, fluoro's go. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's a touch more expensive than mono.
Well, truly. Yeah. I fished last year through winter. It was the first actual season I'd done just mono. I stuck with it. In the river, there is no way in hell you'll catch me using fluoro in the river. It's just no good. There's too much stretch. You can't give them an inch in the river.
Yeah. So if you ever go back and listen to one of our episodes about Az catching the 87 out of Burrendong, he pretty much said that he thought the line was going to snap. There was that much stretch in the fluoro. He had to free spool and let him...
And that was
recatch.
That was my first fish on the fluoro. So I'd got this shock of just an almighty whack at the side of the boat, and as I've let him run, the amount of tinging and it's just not normal. Something because I've used braid for so many years.
Yeah, you're not used to the stretch.
I wasn't used to it, so
in rivers,
I ended up free spooling that fish. But after fishing it a few more times, mate, I love it. I will stick with it. Swim baiting in dams, fluoro. Every other week. And I think I had 28 pounder.
Yeah, 28 pound fluoro. So I've probably come around to that a little bit. I think this year I'm going to try and chuck fluoro and dams. A little bit extra stretch. In river, always going to run braid. Now, we just had a Q&A question. Do you throw 6 to 8 inch plastics with weedless or flashy swimmers in the river? Yes.
Yeah, we do.
Yes. As you've been a bit...
I am
hit and miss on weedless.
Yeah, shit, yeah. So all in the head, just me. Weedless to me is you can't hook them. It was for a long time, but in saying that, like the standard flat shads, they're weedless.
Well, if you take off the bottom tread, they're weedless. So the top hook.
No, that's flat shad X.
Flat shad X, sorry. It's the normal flat shads. The normal flat shads are weedless, yes.
Yeah, so, it does work, and it does help you get into a lot of that structure that you can't fish any other type of lure into it.
Yeah. It does give you the confidence to throw into somewhere you can go, do I really want to stick a lure in there and lose it? The biggest thing for me with weedless is grab it and squish it and see how easily that hook exposes. If you've really got to give it some curry to get that hook exposed, maybe get a drill bit and just take out shave a tiny bit of where that hook comes up through the plastic, where it sits, just until it's enough to maintain its seating position, but enough with a tiny amount of pressure it's going to pop straight out. That's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, so to answer that question, yes, we do use them. I don't throw them a hell of a lot. I probably should, to be honest, with the amount of sticks that we have here in Macquarie. But yeah, it's just one of those things. And you use what you love, and you love what works. So
and not to say, we have had plenty of mates that have chucked weedless over the years, and they've done great guns with them. Like,
I've seen a 1.5 metre caught on a what was that? Might have been an 8-inch Kitech on a flashy swimmer.
Yeah.
And you got to net that fish out of the river. So they definitely work.
Oh, they definitely work. What about swinging stingers for cod? So, yes, at the start of the episode, talking about these soft plastics I rigged up a while ago with, it's not a swinging stinger, it is a pull-out stinger off the back. And I will have a hard stinger for a single hook coming out of the tail, mason wire run through along the backbone. Swinging?
He'll hate that.
Yeah. So swinging stinger, but there is another different rigging that I've seen. That is the flat shad. It's got the weedless up top. I've done
flat shad,
just a normal flat shad, and it's got a weedless up top. I've used mason wire before to come out and just have a tread swinging off the back. I'll probably prefer mason wire or like a really tough mono just to keep it straight, so it's not actually flopping around too much. You can even cut off one of the trebs and just stick it into the top of the plastics just before, like try and find the point where the plastic's moving side to side and it's not going to move too much, so you're not going to take the action out of the tail. You want it just before that point.
Yeah, you don't want to take the action out of the tail.
No.
But yeah, if you're talking about single hooks as well, mate, single hooks to me on cod, I've never done well. As much as I love them on yellow belly bass, you go to single hooks, the fish you drop is way less.
Yeah.
But cod, for some reason, swing and assist in a single for cod, I've never done well. But that's not saying, once again, it doesn't say that they don't work. But I've dropped more fish on singles actually than I have trebles. So
yeah.
Oh, well, treble.
Yeah, right. So probably my thoughts on that is, with the soft plastics, I'm going to run mason wire down the centre and then do a single through to the tail. It's not going to interfere as much as a treble, less weight, all the rest. But there's plenty of meter cod that have been caught on small, shitty single hooks, and I have no doubt that like a big game Gamakatsu hook is going to hold up in that rig and pull up a cod easily. It's not going to break. Well, if you're going to pull yourself one, you might as well pull two.
I'll get Facebook being here to show the bottle. Oh no, we don't know how this live works, so we're just
winging it.
Promise we'll get better. But
all right, I think we've gone over. We've got that many lures sitting in front of us now. You probably can't see, but I think we've gone over the majority of what we're going to throw. Feel free. We're going to chuck the video up on Facebook for everyone to run through and look at it as much as you want.
Yeah. But yeah, if you've got any questions while we're wrapping up, fire them away. We'll knock them out of the way. So, that was the other thing too. Before I forget, the toits with the haywire twists. Now that can come in handy with all this terminal tackle wiring in and stuff like that. So you can get your twist perfect. Not like me. But yes, that is a tool that can help you if you don't feel confident.
Yeah, very much so. And probably the biggest takeaway is don't take a lure out of the box as it's going to work 100% on every species that you're going to tackle. Like, a lot of our gear comes from Japan or the bass scene. So, for example, take this little surge bait. I would be swapping out those split rings and hooks every day of the week before I chuck that for cod. So, just because you pick something off the shelf doesn't mean it's going to handle the conditions you're trying to put it in. It's not going to handle those big cod. Those hooks are going to straighten out on that, I believe. Also depends on how much drag you're putting on. Obviously in river, you're trying to hammer them out of those snags as quick as possible, trying to put as much hurt on them as possible to get them out of those snags. I don't think they're going to hold up.
That's where your Australian-made stuff comes in. A lot of the Australian-made stuff is pretty good, straight out of the packet.
100%, yeah. All the Australian-made stuff we've chucked has been fantastic. I've never had to change a hook or split ring on any of the Xeric gear, like the slick backs.
So those guys we don't touch at all.
Don't touch the slick backs, don't touch the stalkers, wouldn't touch a colossal ruby, wouldn't touch a fury. That tackle there is unbeatable.
Yeah, you're never going to bust that.
You're never going to bust it.
That thing is one hard built diver.
Yeah. So if you ever, probably a good litmus test, if you do pick up a lure and you're a bit suspect about split rings or hooks, for me, is if you can grab the hook and you can flex it easily like this, you're not shifting that hook at all. Whereas grab this and I can squish that in really easily. So just a bit of a test, push on them. If they've got a lot of flex in them, probably not right for cod. Probably upgrade them.
We call them paper clips for a reason.
Yeah. The other test we do is we grab the hook and we pull, and I've just broken that split ring on that like I thought I would. If you can do that,
do it to that.
Versus this slick back straight out of the box, and you see how heavy duty gauge that split ring is, you're not going to break it. You're not going to break that.
You got all the trust in the world, so.
Yeah.
What do we got here? Rods, how heavy in the river. Mate, I run, at the moment, or last season I'm running again this season, Venom Target 2. So it's a 100 gram rod. Now, I probably am going to go to Target 3 just to go that little bit heavier, because some of the lures I'm throwing this year is probably, I am going to try and go a bit bigger. But yeah, I still run me 40 or 50 pound braid, most of the time 50, but braid's a big thing with me. I fish off PE size, I don't fish off pound. So most of the time, like a PE 4, for instance, in most brands is 40 pound, where a lot of the higher end braids, a PE 4 is like 55, 60 pound. So yeah, I think the one I'm running at the moment, I think I had Goshen on one, which is, I think it was only a PE 3.5 and it might have been 52 pound.
Yeah.
I ran that, as well as I did try out another braid as well. It was a thin Japanese braid, but I'm not going to recommend it because it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad on the stuff, but reels, perfect.
We run. Well, hang on. For me, I run the 8 kilo Venom.
Oh yeah.
Cannot beat that rod. Cannot destroy it. It is heavy enough to chuck anything you want on it. You can chuck the biggest swim bait on it, and I chuck things like your slick backs, your orgies, your colossal rubies with ease. It does everything I need it to do. Super heavy rod to really get him out of sticks quickly. I pair it with 50 pound braid, 50 pound leader. It's just something I've always done. I've never gone lighter, I've never gone heavier. Probably just from listening to Cod Mac, Rod McKenzie, he runs 50-50. And that's pretty much where I've stayed.
And I've still been dusted on 50.
Yeah, been dusted on 50. And like we said before, in the dams, go lighter, 28 pound fluoro in dams, fine.
Yeah, just to adapt to it. But,
yeah.
Might as
just
well
heavy on the river, lighter in the dams, and that's the way you're probably going to tackle them the best.
Yeah. I don't like rods over 7 foot in the river. That's not
no. So
6'5", 6'6".
Yep.
6'3" even. So
they're probably the max in the river, just so you can, like, especially when you're trying to do underhand casts, get under a log, or side cast to try and flick it in a tight position. You don't want something super long, or if you got to go into the bank and just sticks and stuff to try to get stuff out, you don't want a long rod hanging around and being a pest.
No.
Whereas in the dams, as long as you want, I think I run an 8'2" swim bait, and for me that just helps me launch. 2-hand control just helps me launch those heavy swim baits all day. But then again, I still run 8 kilo venom in the dams as well. So that's probably why I like 8 kilo venom, because it's such an all rounder for me.
But then coming to reels, mate.
Yeah.
I've got a few. Probably the main one I use is Combat 100 or me Tatula 150.
Yeah.
Last season, I really wanted to test a reel out, which was
we tested it out.
Combat CF80. So this is a bait fish special.
Yeah.
Like a very finessed light reel.
Yeah.
But I decided to test it out on cod last year, and I was really impressed with it. Like,
Caught some 80s.
Yeah, caught plenty of fish in the 80s, and I finally put it to bed. Close to the end of the season, I broke the handle on it on a fish, but
Carbon
that
handle.
was me pushing a reel to something it should never have done.
Something that should be catching bass, and we were catching big green fellas on it.
So mate, CF80, you'll never break them. If it comes to chasing yellows and bass and stuff, they are tough and hard.
Yeah.
So I did run that. Like a lot of my videos on Facebook, I actually had that reel in a lot of my hookups. So but the 100 Combat 100 does everything for me. It's bullet, and personally, I've got short stumpy fingers. When it comes to holding reels on a rod, 200's about my limit. There is no way I could go bigger.
Yeah.
Just for the comfort. So the Combat 100 fits in my hand. I can still put heavy, going in PE size again, PE4, PE3 sometimes. I can run those in the Combat 100s and still get 150 metres.
Yeah.
And they're not a reel that's going to bust your budget either.
Yeah.
So, that's pretty much my reels that I run in the river. Dam's a little bit different, mate, but dams.
Yeah. For me, I run the ATC 200 or Combat 200. It's perfect for me. I've probably got bigger hands than Az. Fits in my hand nice, holds plenty of line. Not bigger fish. But I also run Revo Beast. Beautiful reel. And probably speaking of reels, I've recently swapped to left-handed. I'm a right-handed through and through. Everything else I do, play guitar right-handed, play everything else right-handed. But I've swapped to left-hand reels, and for the simple fact that I feel I have more control with my right hand in putting action and technique into the rod. So pretty much everything, mostly spin reel stuff, swap over, easy enough. But I've gone to all bait cast left hand, and also makes a quicker reeling transition. So you can cast and be in contact with that lure straight away if you're right-handed. Az is left-handed and he runs right-handed reels.
Yep.
Kind of makes sense. And a lot of the Bassmaster guys overseas, they run left-hand reels.
Yep.
For that pure fact that when you cast out, holding hand on the rod and reel's already there, and you just get straight into the reeling straight away. But for me, Revo Beast, ATC 200, always got me out of trouble. 50-50, 50-pound braid, 50-pound leader. I usually run 2 lengths of leader of the rod. Some people are like, oh, that's super long. For me, I just think it's a little bit extra stretch. Like braid doesn't stretch, but fluoro mono will.
And he won't fish straight fluoro.
I won't fish straight fluoro just yet. I've seen you get the shits and almost chuck a rod overboard, so I'm a little bit hectic.
But just got a question about the swing Mikey. So yes, we do upgrade them. So the hooks on those guys, once again, they're mustard jaw lock, and I'm pretty sure they're size 1s. Any bigger than that, you'll start to get them to foul up. So they're just short enough where they won't foul up. But any bigger than that, it's kind of it's hit and miss, because you got a small profile lure.
Yeah.
You can't have stupidly sized hooks because it's going to foul. So size 1 mustard jaw locks fit really well on them, and they are bulletproof. You're not gonna You're not going to hurt them.
And probably going about hook size selection, probably when I didn't know any better, that swing away rear hook, now that I look at it, that's too big. That's way too big. I would probably go back to something about that size compared to that. Just so, one, weight. Hooks do add weight, all the rest. I'd go back to a smaller size, and especially for a tail hook, it's not going to take the action out of the lure and all the rest. So hook size plays a huge thing. Okay, what's this? Will you change anything up fishing style wise to deal with the dirtier water for the new recent heavy rains in our rivers? Yes. So it's a big thing we keep an eye on, whether it's dirty or clear, as to what colour and size baits we chuck.
Yep. So dirty, it used to be dirty water. I remember the theory, I'm pretty sure, was dirty water, dark lures.
Yeah.
I'm not with it. I love, the brighter stuff. As you can see, a lot of my divers, real bright shit in dirty water. So last year I fished a lot of bright because the river was filthy for a very long time. Yeah. We just got out of the floods. The dam was pumping water out. And so we fished a lot of bright shit. But it's got to be bright and it's got to be loud to me. You wouldn't fish a subtle swim bait that's bright. You kind of need that thump, that loudness, and that I reckon that gives me confidence.
Something that moves water and something that's flashy in murky water, I think, is going to work better. Just goes back to the old thing of cod are going to sense it before they see it, more than likely. So probably something that moves a bit of water for me, and then colour is second on my list on what I'm going to pick. I love the pink galah colour in the mumbler. Moves a bit of water, nice and bright. Yeah, something like that in a mumbler. Moves a bit of water, nice and bright, easy to see.
Do you scope in the river or just the dam? Buzz.
I don't even have a sounder on my boat in the river. I do not care for it.
I have used it, but I don't prefer it in the river.
No. For one,
the only thing I like about it in the river, and then again it's got a defect as well, is surface fishing.
Yeah.
Surface fishing with it in the river is unreal. You can watch your surface all come back. You can watch fish come under it, sit underneath it, hit it, whatnot, but it kind of takes the excitement out of it. So I actually just stopped using it. Just purely for that. But there is no way you'd catch me going to the dam without live scope.
Same here. River fishing, the excitement for me is the anticipation of which log's going to hold a fish, what's going to happen, surface time, that sort of thing. I don't want to know ahead of time. Just find the anticipation is building up, and then you get something that's amazing. This is probably the second point about live scope in the river is when you start getting real shallow, doesn't work that great.
Nah.
You get a lot of
metre and a
clutter.
half, I reckon.
Yeah, you start getting a lot of clutter. You start getting some really bad images and reflections back off stuff. The other thing with it is live sonar technology, as good as it is, it's not going to show you a fish that's hiding behind the log. Only chucking a lure in and getting it to come out is going to really prove the point. Whereas in the dam, where you're open, deep water, and you're really going to find that fish and target it, not just... And especially in the river, for me, I get into a mode where it's just... You always chuck in, wind, and I'm always looking for that next log or next tree or next stick.
And that's normally when you catch a fish. You line up your next cast, a bit of rip it out of the water. Things are coming.
Yeah.
I reckon that was synchronised. We've got to replay that.
So, river... I don't even use anything in the river. I used to use a sounder just for depth, but nothing now.
I might touch while I'm thinking of it, UV. Now, UV, ultraviolet for lures and whatnot. To me, bass, yellows, yes. Cod, I wasn't a big fan. I didn't think it worked that much.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I think I've had to change of heart. I reckon UV light does help with cod. So a lot of Grant Manusu that painted all these for me. He done a heap of lures up for me for this year. Yeah, go check him out. He's really good. Nearly everything I've done, I got him to put UV in it. So I don't know if you'll see it, but there is actually
UV.
yellow dots all through that white.
Yeah.
For instance, I thought, let's try UV on cod. And we fished it a bit last year. Remember, me and Dane had a few trips where we were like, one of us had fished not UV, one of us would. And UV still kind of
nudged out a little bit, but not enough for me. Not enough for me to go, definitely UV or definitely bright colours or whatever. I definitely did think on perch species like your bass, your yellowbelly, redfin. I definitely UV is critical. I use UV stuff on all my yellowbelly gear, whereas I'm still not convinced on cod whether UV does much.
No,
just not.
It's just in
not enough.
But
so we got a question, Oscar Reedy. Do you tie line or lures or use clips?
Mate, you will not catch me with any lure from a jig head to a swim bait without a clip.
So these are the mustad fast hatch. These are the big boys, size 3.
No, not big boys. They're the
threes. They're the second down. So 41 kilos they hold up to. Yes, I use them all the time purely because you can clip them off, clip onto a new lure, and you're ready to go in 5-10 seconds. I know there's some boys out there that are really good at tying loop knots. That's not me. Don't give a shit about it.
That's pretty much just a loop. Once you put them on the end of any lure.
Like some people use the clip, you press and clip ones. Don't rate them. I've had them break. These fast hatches, you'd be like 41 kilos. You're never going to have something struggle 41 kilos on the end of your line. Especially most of our drags on our reels are maxing out like that 12 kilo mark.
One of my biggest arguments with people with clips is the fish are going to see it. No, they're not. They are dead set not going to see that clip. They are going to see a big dangly metal hook hanging off the bottom of that lure before they see that tiny clip in the front of it. So, no, it's not because the fish see it. It's just, it's not going to happen. No. They're going to notice hooks well and truly before they see a clip.
Yeah. If you're going to have something that's like an ounce hanging off the front of that, that's big, round and shiny metal, and a big hook like that hanging out of a lure, there's no way you're going to see like a little 15, 20 knot clip.
No, that's right. So, absolutely love clips, mate. Wouldn't recommend them any better. From zeros for jig heads, they're £15 in a zero. I run them on all my Bassman jig heads for vertical grubbing. Size 1s for me fish traps, me Trans-Ams, little bit of edge stuff, football jig especially, fishing edge for obviously yellers. I kind of skip size 2. Size 2 doesn't really suit us much.
O's 1s, 3s and 4s are probably
spot on. Yeah, your 3s are a good one for the river.
One for great.
And then your 4s for your big
for
stuff.
The dam. Az runs fast hatches on his jig heads and stuff for yellers. I don't like it. I just tie directly to jig heads because most of the time if you're dropping, and this is just me, if you're dropping vertical grubbing yellers with fast hatches and you get hooked up to a tree and you can't get it off and you've got to snap it off, more likely you're going to lose a fast hatch and a jig head at the same time, which for me, you're just going to retie, re-go. It's pretty easy to do a knot on a jig head, way you go. For Az,
it's stingers. I run stingers on my jig heads, and you get a fish and he fucks a stinger in the net.
It's a quick
bang, put a new one on, and I'm back in business. I'm not tying a new stinger. I'm not tying a new leader, whatnot. It's just bang on, bang off. So
so we're pretty, like a lot of stuff, we're still pretty different on that sort of thing. So
would you be using lure-wise? That just did.
Sorry.
We'll have them on another stream.
What would be using lure-wise in the Macquarie? How the water is now?
Oh, mate, it's clear. It's honestly clear. It's ready for all us codfishers tomorrow.
Something that bright, something that profile is pretty much what I'm going to be chucking. These are the 3 that I'll be chucking. What? Galar type colour, Frogley type colour, Chartreuse back. Colossals, super bright, super in your face. Even, I love the dark and the bright mixed together. That's what I'm going to be chucking in the river.
Timber's a good one as well. I do run a lot of timber. This one's out of absolute flogging. But
it's just hook rats, isn't
it's
it?
got a lot of fish, so definitely hard bodies to answer that question, mate. Like obviously we point a lot out. Hard bodies and surface, that's what we're going to start with.
Yeah. And if we find
that's just looking at the river now and going, that's the elements we've got.
Yep.
This is what should go well.
So why we do that is they're big, they're loud, they're aggressive. If you do find you're chucking them around for ages, you're not getting a hit, you're not getting a bite, that's where we swap over to a mumbler.
Yeah.
Something a bit more silent. It's going to move a bit of water, be a bit flashy, but it's not that super loud rattle that you're going to hear underneath the water. So just gauge what the fish are doing. And if you feel like they're a bit more of a timid bite, swap down to a bit more of a silent bait.
That's another one too. Like, even when they're shut down on surface in the river, we like to throw a lot of stalkers. It just seems to be, yes, they are a loud, obnoxious lure, but it seems to, there's a totally different scenario from a surface paddler or a walker to a wake bait. And when you fish both of them one after the other, you do realise that the fish, when they're shut down, they will take a wake bait over a top water.
Yeah.
Every time. So, yeah, last year at the start, it was tough because the water was up high and wake baits did real well for us.
Yeah. Yeah, chucking the stalkers or chucking the rickpeel rattlesnakes, wake walkers, Baskin wake walkers.
That's a wake snake there.
Yeah, this is the mud-eye wake snake that we were chucking around last year. Super big lure, super big profile, silent as. Beautiful.
They've caught plenty of fish at cope in these things.
Too many. And like I was saying before, this is the other one that we've been chucking.
Don't want the shit show here, but
Yeah, he's got too many lures in one box as usual.
I need more boxes.
This is the wake walker we've been chucking. Paddle front, super big profile. Excellent bait. So, Larky, do you find water temps play a part when chasing cod? Yes.
Most definitely.
Hugely, especially in winter. Our last Barrendong trip, we ranged from temperatures as low as 6 to 7 degrees.
Yep.
And then we'll find the active fish in 14 to 15 degrees. So as soon as you bump up that temperature, it was on more than it was when it was lower temperature. Especially yellow belly. We had a fantastic day on yellow belly in Barrendong in the middle of winter. It was almost a fish a drop. Found that 14 degree water, found a bunch of trees, cracked on them, super good.
Which also shows that it doesn't have to be the warmest temperature in the dam for fish to be active.
No.
You've just got to find that sweet spot. Like you can, like you said, you can find water from 6 degrees to 16 and they be biting in 13. So we thought the hotter, obviously you think, oh, the hotter the better, they're going to get more active. No, it wasn't the case. You honestly have to find the mediocre of what they're comfy in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Like, find the active fish, that's it. And especially with sounders these days and dams.
Yeah.
Find the active fish, and that's the water temp you're going to hunt for. Bring it up on your screen. It can highlight everywhere in that dam. It's going to be the same sort of temperature, especially if you've done a lot of scanning or running before. Same sort of depth, same sort of flow.
But when you say chasing cod, mate, in the river, definitely a big part as well, and that comes down to the releases.
Yeah.
If they release off the bottom of the dam, mate, in the middle of summer and you get a cold snap, mate, it shuts them down.
Shut them
Every
down
time.
Yeah.
And you've got to wait, and like it might be a couple of weeks or a couple of days, never knows. But yeah, it can definitely affect a good bite. I've been out and caught 15 fish in an afternoon and seen a rise in the river and it'd be cold water and not catch a fish for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
So, the cold water does affect them.
Follow your releases out of your dams.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest things for us that we look at. If we see a bit of a plateau out of the dam releases or it shuts down a little bit, that's when we're going.
And real-time water data, that's where we get all the info.
Yeah. Yeah, like, and people will go, oh, you know, cold water, cod love cold water, why isn't it triggering them? They don't like change. Fish do not like change at all. They like to be slowly changed or stay in the same temperature. If you pour, 10-degree water into a 20-degree river, it's going to shut you down real quick.
Yeah.
Is that another question then? Yes.
I don't think so, mate. No. Well, I reckon we might wrap this up, mate.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up. Yeah, like we said, we'll put the video up on Facebook. Give it a look. All the information will be on there, answering all the questions or whatever.
And if you've got another question, you're more than happy to message our Facebook page.
Yeah, message Facebook page. We're happy to answer any questions you give us. We're not gonna give all the secrets away, but we're definitely gonna put you on the right track to figure it out yourself. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yellow
comp ends tomorrow as well.
Yeah, Yellow comp 1st of December. We have a cracker in the lead, but it's not to say someone can't beat it. So
you have 4 hours.
4 hours to enter it, and we'll go from there. We're also going to draw the mystery prize tomorrow as well for the mystery length of the yellow belly.
And while we're going, cod season is here, and
we do have brand new Codtails mental health brag mats. So for all you cod fishers, we have highlighted 1 metre in red, and for your yellow belly fishers, we've highlighted 60 in red. Now, it is in centimetre increments, it's not in millimetre increments, but mate, unreal.
So these guys we're gonna sell them for $40 each. Now this is to go to mental health as well. So
it's what we're about. It's what we're trying to help. It's what we're going for. So,
but also we will run a comp with these guys as well. So if you got one in brag mats, that's your entry. So keep an eye for that. We'll do something over the cod season, especially the start. Might run something for a couple of weeks or maybe a month or two. So keep an eye out on that.
Yeah, sure. All right, guys. Till next time.
Well, rip in cod season. Let's go.
Let's go.
See you guys.